So, who can a Catholic vote for these days? If we were looking for somebody who agreed with everything we believed in, we might just have to write our own name on the ballot. But maybe if there is someone we could support who expresses many, but maybe not all of our views, maybe we could vote for such a person. What does our church offer us as faithful citizens who strive to educate ourselves and vote responsibly? There's a document that the United States bishops have put out every 4 years, the year prior to a presidential election, for Catholics around the United States to reflect on as they discern how they will exercise their right to vote. The Church does not teach who to vote for or what political party to be affiliated with, but it offers us some guidance to reflect on what we should reflect on as we vote. I'd like to read some paragraphs from this document for our reflection. One, it comes from the preface of this document called Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship, a Call to Political Responsibility. The preface has been recently updated and it reflects a lot of the struggles of our political world today. As Catholics and Americans, we are blessed to be able to participate in our nation's political and public life. Our freedoms respect the dignity of individuals and their consciences and allow us to come together for the common good. Election seasons, therefore, should contain a sense of gratitude and hope. Our love for this country, our patriotism, properly impels us to vote. But increasingly, it seems, election seasons are times of anxiety and spiritual trial. Political rhetoric is increasingly angry, seeking to motivate primarily through division and hatred. Fear can be an effective tool for raising money. The most heated arguments online often get the most clicks. Demonizing the other can win votes. We propose once more, the bishops do, the moral framework here, precisely as pastors, inspired by the Good Samaritan, with the hope of binding these wounds and healing these bitter divisions. This document is not based on personalities or partisanship, the latest news cycle, or what's trending on social media. Instead, it reflects the perennial role, the traditional ongoing role of the Church in public life in proclaiming timeless principles. In our society, there's a lot of heated debate on both sides of the aisle, all across the political spectrum, and it's tearing us apart. So in the midst of this, we are called by St. Paul to speak words of peace. Pope Francis does the same thing, asking us only to say good things that people need to hear, that will really help them, not to tear them down. And Pope Francis encourages us to be open in dialogue with others, to be frank about what we believe is important, but also to be able to listen to people of different perspectives. So if we go into this election season with that attitude, not trying to demonize other people, but to seek the truth together, that is what our church calls us to do. How do we meet this challenge? We want to put on the mind of Christ so that we can turn off those voices around us that inspire us to anger or hatred, so that we can have the true peace of Christ. And although our votes for candidates for office might be a stressful thing to figure out or something that might lead us to be at issue with other people, we should certainly seek to exercise not just our right to vote politically, but be involved in the good of society by doing what we can for other people. Now, who can a Catholic morally vote for without having any sense of guilt or any sort of feeling that maybe you are doing something you shouldn't when you vote for a candidate? So the document on page 15 says that a Catholic can't vote for somebody in order that they do something evil. If there's something that a candidate proposes to do that is wrong, and you know it's wrong, and you choose to vote for this person because of that policy specifically, that would be wrong. And I don't think there are many people who necessarily are trying to vote for evil people or evil policies. So with that out of the way, we have some more challenging things to think about. Certainly, when we support a candidate through a vote, we are not responsible for everything that they do. We should consider what they will do and whether there are certain things that are always going to be wrong no matter the circumstances. And if we vote for a person who's going to focus on things that are really bad, that would be maybe a problem. But if there are things that are very good that that candidate might do, and the bad thing they want to do isn't very likely to happen because of what's going on in politics around them, then our church advises us to take all of that into account as we use our consciences. Our consciences are what enable us to make good judgments about political matters. So when we have all of our background from our church, our religious tradition, our culture, our family, our reflection, all of this helps us to make good judgments. So we need to make sure that when we analyze what candidates are proposing to do, if they are given the office they are seeking, that we only vote for them if we think that more good will be done than bad, and that their policies would not involve tremendous evil. The document says that there may be times when a Catholic who rejects a candidate's unacceptable position, even on policies promoting an intrinsically evil act, may reasonably decide to vote for that candidate for other morally grave reasons. Voting in this way would be permissible only for truly grave reasons, not to advance narrow interests or partisan preferences, or to ignore a fundamental moral evil. So if a candidate is advocating something that is very wrong, it would be perhaps okay to vote for that person, but only if there are other really good reasons why you should support them. And in this way, we wouldn't be responsible for the bad policy they do want to accomplish, but we would be enabling them to do hopefully more good if we think that that would be possible. Another quotation from this text from the same page, 15. When all candidates hold a position that promotes an intrinsically evil act, the conscientious voter, the voter who has a well-formed conscience, who wants to judge rightly, they face a dilemma. The voter may decide to take the extraordinary step of not voting for any candidate, or, after careful deliberation, may decide to vote for the candidate deemed less likely to advance such a morally flawed position and more likely pursue other authentic human goods. So, if we look at those running for office, we think all of those running are going to have bad effects upon our world. A Catholic does have the right not to vote for such candidates. So a Catholic could choose not to vote, or to vote for a minor party or independent candidate who doesn't have a realistic chance of winning, if one feels that either major party candidate doesn't have anything that they could support. The final quote I'd like to bring up is from page 18. As Catholics, we are not single-issue voters. A candidate's position on a single issue is not sufficient to guarantee a voter's support. Yet, if a candidate's position on a single issue promotes an intrinsically evil act, a voter may legitimately disqualify a candidate from receiving their support. So this is a time for all of us as we approach election season here to reflect on what our political values are, how they line up with the gospel of Jesus Christ, and how we try to accomplish good in our society. That is what we looked at in our first of 3 sessions in our series on political theology and faithful citizenship. In our next session, coming up this Sunday on the 27th, we're going to look at what issues matter most from a Catholic moral perspective. What are all the different issues, not just a single one, that we need to consider that the candidates running for office might have different policies on that should inform our vote as we seek to accomplish the common good? We'll have one final session in this series, also November 3rd, looking at the relationship between religion and politics. How do they relate to each other anyway? So please, I invite you to join us in our chapel between the 9 and 11 a.m. Masses. We'll start at 10 a.m. and go till 10:50 this coming Sunday. I hope you all can come.